Yeah.
So this is where I come in, right?
And the testimony.
When I start looking at that piece, I knew right there, oh, Brian is working to work off his sentence, because the only way he could do that is now by solving a murder that had already happened, right? He had already given the police all this stuff and trying to bring people in when it was just about his situation, meaning his crimes that he's confessing to. And we're talking about robberies. Now you got another robbery. So say for argument's sake that if Brian's telling the truth, that Tyree planned this the day before, why wouldn't you say, since you're confessing to all these robberies that you were involved in, why wouldn't you say, by the way, Tyree, since you were bringing Tyree into it for other stuff, other things, by the way, I believe there's a robbery that's going to go down tonight in my neighborhood because Tyree came to my house yesterday to plan this. So this is October 28th, 1997. Now the police talk to Brian Brooks again in December. I know how that happens. What happens is Brian is like, man, I'm really getting ready to be jammed up right here, right? I better figure out if I got some more information for the police. So he would contact his lawyer and say, I'd like to talk to the police. I got some more information for him. So they come back and talk to him again in December. He probably has nothing good to say, nothing to say about Mr. Kang's murder, because honestly, he said he didn't know nothing about it. Why would you want to talk to the police if you weren't going to be able to share what you knew before the murder happened? Because he didn't. So he goes back to the prison, sits some more, and now he's thinking, well, you know what? I know a sure way to get myself out of this and out of jail. I might as well say, hey, I definitely know about Mr. Kang's murder, and I can bring you the person that's responsible for doing it.
Now, just to refresh, as I'm trying to keep it all straight, did he, when he was going through any of those other 6 robberies, did he mention Tyree in those?
I think he mentioned Tyree, said, oh, well, Tyree was with me for this robbery, or Tyree did this robbery. Those things never came to fruition. Nothing, there was no information, no evidence, nothing corroborating. But he didn't just say Tyree. He brought other people, saying other people were doing these things too. Nothing corroborated that information. So he couldn't get his cooperation because they couldn't corroborate that Tyree had anything to do with some of these other robberies that he just admitted to doing.
Sure.
So now you got December. He wants to talk to the police again. And whatever he talks to them about must not have been much because, one, they didn't even write it down. And two, they want to talk to him again in February where they said, hey, you didn't tell us the truth before. So we know that he must have said, I know nothing about that robbery. So now we're talking about months later where he's now saying, well, you know what, I guess I remember something and I want to tell you the truth now, which is absurd because if Brian, everything I know tells me if Brian knew about that murder the day before he was arrested and confessing, he would have talked about it then. He had talked about it in December.
Yep.
He had talked about it now. He found an opportunity to do something for himself. And that was, okay, I know how to bring someone in because Tyree lived in that neighborhood. So this is not like random. Let's just pick someone out of the blue. Let's pick someone in the neighborhood that I kind of know, I run with, you know, I do whatever with, you know, we're just kind of people that hang out all the time. And in February, as Dave was saying, he now for the first time says, actually, Tyree planned this whole robbery, and I know Tyree is one of the ones who did it.
And I didn't tell you about that when I was with you the whole day when it was going on and you guys had me pinched for other stuff.
And I didn't tell you that months later, right? And I didn't tell you that until now while I'm sitting in the jail cell thinking about my fate. Ironically, Brian Brooks gets an opportunity to get bailed out.
How does this happen?
That's where we're looking at. Because I'll tell you how it happens in other cases that I have. When someone is cooperating with the police and they're going to get out and work and bring someone in to be prosecuted for something that has happened where the cops are looking to kind of clear that case, they're able to make bail, get out, and they keep in touch with police about what they're doing, what they know. I went over to his house. I saw firsthand he's still bagging up drugs, whatever that is, right? So that's generally how it happens. That's how my clients would get out if they were cooperating with police.
When did he make bail?
In It was was it after December?
Was it before the February meeting?
No.
Okay, so it was after that meeting.
Yes.
Sometime after that meeting, he gets bail.
He makes bail. He tells the police, my family's going to bail me out. That also red flag. Anyone who would be bailed out under normal circumstances never telegraphs the police, hey, guess what? You're going to get bailed out. They don't have to know all that, right? And most people wouldn't want them to know that. But for some reason, Brian is telling the police that his family's going to bail him out. Now, generally, the prosecution will agree to lower bail if they're working for police. Now, we don't have that information definitively in Brian Brooks' case, which we're still working on getting that. And I'm looking to work with the district attorney now to get that information about Brian Brooks's, bail reduction. We try to get it from the Court of Administration. They don't have what his bail was and what it was reduced to and why, but we're going to be looking at doing that. He gets out, and, I don't know if you want to pick up from there.
Well, there's the, I don't know, I guess I'll call it the sort of I'm sorry moment, the right triangle incident, the
robbery.
Yeah, the robbery.
Well, you gotta put it in context. So Brian gets out, right? He tells the police he's getting out. He gets out, and a few weeks later, he goes and links up with Tyree,
who's not arrested yet, obviously, at this time.
No, he's still in the neighborhood
doing his thing. Yep.
They go to the store, another store in the neighborhood I think it was called the Right Triangle, and as Tyree describes it, they go to the store, they walk in. Tyree and Brian. Brian turns to Tyree and says, "Sorry, man." Walks up, pulls out a knife, and threatens the woman behind the counter
and robs the store.
And Tyree is now ostensibly positioned at the door, and they scramble out of there.
They bolt out of there, of course, right?
The woman is okay. She's a little bit of money, I think, is taken from her at knife point, but she's okay. Shaken for sure, based on the statements. But that would then lead Tyree to getting arrested for that. And his lawyer at the time.
Wait, before you go to the lawyer, think about the significance of that. Brian, you're getting out. Police know you're getting out. Within a month, you're committing another robbery. This is a setup. This is a setup. Because the only way to bring Tyree in is if it's the propensity, he has the propensity to commit robberies, right?
So are you saying, or am I understanding you correctly, that you're saying possibly that the police wanted to put Brian and Tyree at the scene of another robbery where Brian initiated it?
This may not have been the police. This may have been Brian's way of bringing Tyree into the fold.
That would make more
right?
sense. Yeah.
Because Brian now is looking at, how am I going to work my numbers down? How am I going to prove that Tyree had something to do with Mr. King's robbery? I know if he's involved in another robbery, it's more likely that he committed the first one. The way the streets work, they come up with creative, crafty ideas to do certain things. Brian would never rob another store while you're out on bail, told the police that you're out on bail with 6 gunpoint robberies over your head. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. First of all, it doesn't make any sense that he was out unless you're cooperating. But now he's got to set him up to prove that Tyree has the propensity to rob stores, because now that's more likely to get Tyree arrested and prosecuted for Mr. Kang's. Because we got to remember, when he was throwing out names before, nothing came about it.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. Please hit that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.